Hey, good evening, everyone. Pardon me while I clear my throat. So, anyway, a little different type of. We're going to get into politics a little bit tonight, but I have an interesting thing that Tom Martz, our good friend Tom Martz, brought to light, tagged me on Facebook on this post about the Pomme De Terre River. And so I'm going to play the YouTube video that he tagged me in. It's about 5 minutes long. I'll let you guys listen to this audio, and we'll kind of delve into it, and I'll just give you my thoughts, a little commentary on it, and then something from Representative Lovasco that he posted on Twitter and Facebook, something else interesting going on, because I really like Representative Lovasco. I like Tony a lot, and I think he does a great job at representing his district. So anyway, now enough of that. Let me start the recording, and we shall get into the Freedom Talk, shall we?
In the restaurant of life, we're putting freedom back on the menu. It's the Missouri Liberty Report with John Williams, working with grassroots organizations and legislatures to make Missouri the freest state in the nation. Let freedom ring.
All right, we're back with another edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Thanks, everybody, for joining with me once again. Again, to those of you in YouTube land, on the radio, and in the podcast side, for those of you who watch, listen, download, however you get this podcast, I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you, and thank you for your continued support. All right, so again, as I told the live stream viewers right before I started the recording here, a little something different tonight. Tom Martz, a friend of the show, and just a friend in general, a friend of Liberty, Tom Martz, tagged me on a post on Facebook. This has to do with the Pomme De Terre River. I'm just going to play, it's like a 5.5 minute audio, the audio from this YouTube video, because I think this will lay it out for you better. And then once that's done, we'll follow up with some commentary and my thoughts on this whole thing. But it is interesting. This is something a little different that I normally don't delve into, but I find that it's a topic that interested me. I'm like, yeah, we definitely need to talk about this. Definitely need to dive into it a little bit, because I think it lends to the harm of what I see could be maybe a public-private partnership type of, incident, or a little favoritism in on the corporate side of things rather than the individual side of things. And is this, fair and equal across an even playing field? And I don't think it is, but we'll get into that. And then an interesting post from Representative Tony Lovasco that I also want to get into as well. So let me start off with... before we go on any farther, next week, Senator Bill Eigel will be on with me next week to talk more about his exploratory run for governor of Missouri. So make sure you tune in next Friday for that right here on the Missouri Liberty Report. And with that being said, I don't think I have any other updates to talk about, except on the 30th, which I have to let Sam and Trish know. There is a chance the Friday the 30th I will not be doing a show, or if I do, it will be later in the evening because I will be out of town for a conference. I thought we'd be leaving Illinois, headed back from Missouri in the morning, and there's a chance we won't be leaving Illinois, close, kind of southeast of Chicago and Ottawa, Illinois, until about noon. And it's about a 5.5-hour drive to Jeff City, which we put me back here at 6:30. So if we do it, we may have to push it back an hour, or, I mean, honestly, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I may have to cancel next week. I don't want to, but it may be the way it goes. Okay, with that all being said, let me play this audio for you from this YouTube video, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
350,000 gallons of treated wastewater to be dumped daily into our beloved Pomme De Terre River. 850 square miles of watershed covering 6 counties in Missouri. Do I have your attention yet? I'd like for you to know that in November of 2020, a geological survey was requested from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources on behalf of the Missouri Prime Beef Packers plant, located in Pleasant Hope, Missouri, the county of Polk. The purpose of this request was to show the proposed wastewater needs could be served by adding a lagoon to an existing 2-cell lagoon already on the facilities. There was a site visit ordered by the DNR as well to examine the potential for a collapse and contamination of groundwater in the event of the lagoon's failure. Quote, "The site received a moderate rating for collapse, primarily due to the depth and size of the proposed lagoon. In the event of a collapse, shallow local groundwater resources and the surface water of the Pomme De Terre River and its tributaries would be adversely impacted." Unquote, DNR. This resulted in an expansion of the existing lagoon to a 3rd cell in 2021 when Missouri Prime Beef Packers opened their doors. A permit was approved by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources in 2022 to apply the treated wastewater on the surface land. However, no water quality data was submitted by the Department of Natural Resources at the time of the request. In May of 2023, the Missouri Prime Beef Packers plant has requested a permit to discharge 350,000 gallons of wastewater a day directly into the Pomme De Terre River. A water quality and anti-degradation review was ordered through the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. The findings are as follows. There are several species of fish, like the Niangua darter, that are federally protected and located within the proposed project site. Quote, "The projected site is on or near fish spawning stream that reaches Pomme De Terre River." Unquote. Missouri Department of Natural Resources. The river is within the range of the gray bat and the Indiana bats, which are listed on the state and federal endangered species list. The northern long-eared bats are listed on the federally threatened list and make their homes along the banks of the Pomme De Terre and within the projected area site. Section 303D of the Federal Clean Water Act requires that each state identifies waters that are not meeting water quality standards and for which adequate water pollution controls have not been required. There have been no water quality data submitted on the Pomme De Terre River by the Department of Natural Resources as of this time. However, in 2021, Pomme De Terre Lake, fed by the Pomme De Terre River, was deemed impaired by chlorophyll A, also known as blue-green algae. Quote, "Chlorophyll A is an indicator of algae growth in a response to increased total phosphorus and total nitrogen in the water body." Unquote. Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Prior to 2021, when the packing plant opened, the Pomme De Terre River was labeled as good according to the EPA. In 2022, the Pomme De Terre River is now listed on the EPA proposed list of impaired waterways due to E. coli. The Anti-Degradation Review preliminary determination states, quote, flows will be conveyed from the treatment facility to the Pomme De Terre River discharge location. The proposed new facility discharge location will result in significant degradation of the Pomme De Terre River, unquote. Missouri Department of Natural Resources. Are you mad yet? Because our small town sure is. The Missouri Department of Natural Resources are asking for comments on water quality, only open until June 26. You need to let your voice be heard. I've personally enjoyed this river, making memories with my family throughout the years. And if we have an overpolluted river, how can we leave that to our next generation to enjoy? Will it affect our well water? Will we get to enjoy the lakes, or will there be more algae blooms? I have personally seen a decline in water clarity, aquatic life, and odor on the Pomme De Terre River since the first permit was granted. If this permit is approved, it will result in severe degradation of the Pomme De Terre River, Pomme De Terre Lake, 850 square miles of its watershed covering 6 counties, possibly reaching Truman Lake, Lake of the Ozarks, and the Osage River. This permit would be detrimental to southwest Missouri and our beloved Pomme De Terre River. Missouri Department of Natural Resources needs to hear our voice. Our waterways are what makes the Ozarks special. Our wildlife needs to be saved, and our kids need to enjoy this in the future. It all floats downstream. Let's make sure we pass on a clean river to the next generation.
All right, so there's that. And, here, okay, I'm just going to give you my take. I don't know what the DNR is going to do, per se, okay? So my thing is, let's say the DNR, because this is a big corporate farm, and here in our state, corporate farms seem to get they get tax credits, they get a lot of things thrown their way that are unconstitutional. And we know with government, we also have to deal with public-private partnerships, which is another favoritism towards these big corporations, while mom and pops, maybe small farms, all that, they kind of get left by the wayside, right? That's normal business practice for government in general, not just at the federal level, state, local, county levels. We've seen it. We've seen it multiple times. So the question is, will the DNR approve this? Because they're calling it treated wastewater, I believe is the term they're using. Well, and when you treat wastewater, you have to put things in it to kill the bacteria and other things, that are in that water that would make it unhealthy. And so this person who wanted to remain anonymous, that posted this video, I talked to them on the phone a little bit. They said there's a swimming area at Pomme De Terre Lake that was closed last year because of E. coli. And supposedly this meat processing plant takes some of their waste and tells farmers, hey, we got this free fertilizer you can spray on your fields. We won't charge you a dime. Let us spray it on your fields. And apparently a lot of the local farmers are like, hey, free fertilizer, let's do this. But this person's concern is not only is it running into the river and you've got ammonia, there was fecal composition and something else that could run into the river, okay, from this treated wastewater. And then if that gets into wells, could it contaminate farmland? Could it contaminate wells? Could it contaminate the river and the lakes and, make it nasty? And you get these algae blooms, things like that. And see, and herein lies the hypocrisy in this whole thing, because DNR is supposed to protect the waterways, right? I mean, supposedly for the last several years, let's say you decide to put a septic tank in your yard. You build a house outside of town, you're going to install a new septic tank. DNR, the regulations on a septic tank are just absolutely ridiculous, and they drive the cost way up. So God knows how much they've increased the cost of installing a septic tank as opposed to, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, just because of regulation. Okay, so that's the DNR. Protecting your waterways, protecting your land, blah, 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 blah. But if they allow this to happen, then there's a problem, because according to this person, if you go to DNR's website, they've been cited for multiple violations. Now, they get a slap on the wrist. And I told this person, I said, yeah, but here's my problem. I said, I'm not anti-farm. In a least bit, I'd rather see the mom and pop farm operations do better than these corporate jobs, because, again, the corporate jobs seem to get the favoritism from even our governor and things like that. Just government in general. And my thought is, I told her, yeah, these people might get permission from the government to do this, right? And ruin it for a whole lot of people, because it's one of those things where you don't know what the outcome is going to be 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. There could be significant health risks or some kind of results from this that they just didn't foresee happening, right? But they might let this outfit do this, right? Okay. But I told her, I told him, I said, if you were a farmer a mile up the river, right? And you decided, well, I got some wastewater, I'm just going to let it flow into the river. They would fine you out of existence. That farm would be gone. And this is the hypocrisy that I can't stand. I hate it. It just infuriates me that, these big outfits can come in and try to do this, and instead of adding lagoons, let's just pump it into the river. It's going to be a lot cheaper that way. But what are you doing to the surrounding area? What are you doing to the river? What are you doing to the lake? What are you going to do if that spreads to other waterways and tributaries and all these other things? What's going to be the cost then? Because if DNR allows this, I would think that takes liability off the company. I would think that they were just like, well, here's my suggestion, folks. To anybody that hears this, you have till April 26th. I say you treat this like a piece of legislation that you want to see go through, like gold and silver or SEPA, or a bill that you want to be killed, like IP reform. I would say the best thing to do is blow up the DNR's phones and say, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think this should be allowed, because, and the thing I would say is, would you let any other farmer, if this wasn't a big meat processing, plant, if this wasn't, like corporate ag, if this was just a farmer, would you let them take their treated wastewater and dump it into the river? Of course you wouldn't. So why are you allowing these things? Because I don't care if they're an alphabet agency or not. Constitutionally, everybody needs to be on a level. When you make a decision like this, everybody's supposed to be taken into consideration. This is, again, picking a corporate type entity and giving them favored status over mom and pop farm operations. And I, for one, just don't care for that. So this is a little bit of a tricky situation. But I would ask, especially folks in that area or anywhere close to that area, that they blow up DNR's phones and say absolutely not. Now, here's another thing. I'm saying this, and the Department of Natural Resources drives me insane anyway, right? A lot of these alphabet agencies, I just don't have a use for. The EPA, with the way they're regulating things, I don't have much use for them. The DNR, they just drive costs up on a lot of things. I don't have a lot of use for them. But if we're going to have these regulatory agencies, the least they could do is be consistent, right? And not treat certain people and give them a better status, and to break rules or do whatever, pollute, however they want to do this, and then bust the chops of a farm that might accidentally pollute something. Okay? That's the thing I don't like. I abhor that type of behavior. But folks, this is what you get with government. Okay? And these, all these alphabet agencies, DNR, EPA, Department of Conversation. We need to have a conversation. Conservation, all these things. They drive me nuts because our tax dollars fund these things, and then you get this kind of behavior. You get this type of scenario going on where people are getting beneficial treatment because they have a lot of money and maybe they've donated to certain politicians or something like that. So there's pressure to let them behave badly because, well, whatever. It's just, I don't like it. I hate it. I don't know what else to say about it. There's not a whole lot more to say on this, except the fact that if this is allowed to happen, then we need to keep a really close eye and kind of watch what happens to the waterway. Because if things get bad down there, then we're going to have to light a fire under somebody's butt. And, we're going to have to call attention to this. And we're going to have to kind of make some noise. Because, again, if we did this without government permission, the fines would be of epic proportion, right? We would get hammered into oblivion. And, again, with government, we have a problem in this state, like a lot of other states, where they don't follow the Constitution. I would say the DNR is an unconstitutional entity anyway, just like the other alphabet agencies, anywhere from EPA to the FBI, the CIA, they're all unconstitutional. Even if it's in the state of Missouri, unconstitutional. This burdensome regulation, and the DNR, I'm sure, is a thorn in the side of a lot of farms. Again, when you go to put in a new septic tank, all these things, they just make your life a big headache. It's just a nightmare to deal with these people. But in the same breath that they turn around and allow this, you have to wonder, what use is the DNR? And I'm just putting that out there, folks. If they allow this, and you yourself, I mean, let's face it. Most farmers, almost any of them, wouldn't want to dump their crud in the river because they know that it's just not. It's something you don't do as a responsible human being. You just don't go polluting waterways because it's the cheap way to do it. And so to have this regulatory body, it almost enforces this idea that, well, we have to keep an eye on you. We have to regulate you. And, and when you insert a regulatory body into a transaction or into some kind of business or something like that, the cost to operate that business necessarily goes up. Because when they regulate things, of course, they're going to make the cost of doing things higher because you have to go through these hoops. You might have to get licenses. You might have to apply for things. If you're going to buy certain things because that is regulated, the cost of those products go up. So your costs, in fact, go up as well. And you're going to have to pass those costs on to the consumer because you're not going to eat all those costs. But I understand the concern here. Why would you want 350,000 gallons a day of treated wastewater going into the river? And the question is, how could anybody think that's not going to cause problems? If ammonia and these other things are going into a body of water, is there a chance that you're just going to kill fish? You're going to kill aquatic life willy-nilly? I mean, I would think so. Because as a former pest control guy, I know that if you got, if someone had an aquarium in their house with fish, you had to unplug the aerator and you had to put a towel or something over the fish tank because we were told a couple drops of that stuff in the water and the fish were going to be belly up, floating in the water, dead. Okay? So I can't see them being able to dump all this into a river and not having some bad side effects to this. E. coli being the E. coli content being higher, which is disgusting, and then probably killing, good possibility of killing off a bunch of fish and other things. And, but here's the thing, folks. You got to think about it this way, okay? I know people don't like to. The government owns the waterways, right? That's another problem. The government owns the waterways. Now, this has to do with, Agenda 21, now Agenda 2030, and all these other agendas that come from the UN, that the government is to control all waterways. It gets to the point where you control travel, commerce, everything, right? Ultimate control of the waterways. So when you have a government that regulates the waterways, basically owns them, and you have public-private partnerships, and you have corporations asking for, again, favored status, they'll be allowed to dump their stuff, and you would be in big doo-doo if you did the same exact thing as what they want to do. Again, you would be fined out of your mind, and you'd probably literally lose the farm. You'd lose the farm because you'd have to sell everything to pay for the fines that you incurred from polluting a waterway. So it's just hypocrisy if this is allowed to go through. Now, again, I don't know. I'm sure the DNR is not going to advertise how they're leaning on this. But again, my suggestion to those of you out there, which I'm going to share this link with the person that did this video so they can spread it far and wide on social media. And she would tell, this person would tell you the same thing. Just blow up the DNR's phone. All hours of the day, blow up their phones and say, don't allow this. This should not be okay. And, maybe you go as far as saying, I don't want to hear about, oh, it's okay, it's treated and blah, because that's, again, if you look at some of the studies, ammonia and other things are going to be going into the river, and common sense would say that that's not going to be good for the river, the water, maybe the aquifers, the tributaries, other rivers, the lake, your wells, any of that stuff. It might end up being harmful. And then again, if the government's going to give them permission, would they be liable for any damages they do? That is the question. Because if the DNR okays this, could you pursue a civil suit against this meat processing plant, which apparently this company sells about every 2 years? About every 2 years it changes hands. The ownership group now is out of Texas. They're not even a Missouri headquartered company. The company, and I can't remember the name of the company that owns them, but they're out of Texas. So they're an out-of-state operation. And again, they've been nailed for several things, and it doesn't seem like they get really hit with anything. So, but again, they're a corporate entity, and a lot of times those people get the kids' gloves applied when they do bad things, whereas you and I get absolutely the crap beat out of us. And it's not okay, folks. It's not okay. So I wanted to open the show with that because I thought that was just I found it interesting because until Tom posted that, and thank you, Tom Martz, by the way, for doing that. I appreciate that very much for tagging me in that. And I'm going to try to get another person on. I might just have to do another standalone video and interview somebody else who's kind of in the know about this, and maybe over the weekend or sometime next week, do a short live stream, and people, we can direct people to that as well with somebody who has more knowledge on the situation, because I'm not real knowledgeable on it, I'll admit, but this kind of come up, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? So anyway, with that being said, let's move on to our next topic. So, Representative Tony Lovasco, who's been on the show with me twice, I'm trying to get him back on here soon. He posted something on Facebook and Twitter about the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. Okay? And I've stated my case on these things many times, that these parties don't seem to, they seem, a lot of them seem beholden to the tops in the parties, whether it's Republican, Democrat, even sometimes Libertarian. They seem to be beholden and kowtow to the people at the top as far as their behavior. And instead of being more of an independent body and saying, I know the party would like us to push this guy as the candidate, but this guy actually seems like he would be better for the people, and he knows government's role in our lives, and he actually seems like a conservative. Maybe we should pick this guy. But they do goofy stuff, right? And you just go, oh, you guys have lost your minds again. So anyway, Representative Lovasco wrote a letter. This is dated June 12th of this year. And it starts out, the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee has lost its way. After 6 years as a member of the committee, I ran for chairman in hopes of repairing the organization's tattered reputation among the county's delegation to the Missouri General Assembly. Under prior leadership, multiple incidents of open antagonism towards state representatives and senators caused a rift that continuously hampered the ability of the committee to perform its mission. In one case, even a direct request from the governor to allow a representative to offer a statement on his behalf was explicitly rejected. Unfortunately, the current committee members have chosen to disregard my vision for harmony and instead embrace and escalate conflict. A recent internal vote revealed that the vast majority of membership favors holding feet to the fire over supporting and working alongside our elected Republican officials. Calling out individual representatives in public and condemning their legislation were top priorities expressed. There was even a strong implication that the body was willing to disregard its own bylaws to effect the leadership changes necessary to advance that agenda. According to its bylaws, the purpose of that commission is to foster loyalty to the Republican Party and promote its principles, recruit, assist, and elect Republican candidates to office, and act as an organizing arm of the state and national GOP. It is impossible to fulfill this mission while actively attacking members in the public square. Elected officials are accountable to the public, not to party insiders. It is not the job of the county GOP committee to be activists, but rather to be leaders. We cannot hope to defeat the radical left or reduce the size and scope of government when our own party apparatus is more focused on attacking our own than growing our movement. Absent major changes to the committee membership or a public commitment to disavow the use of confrontational politics, I urge my fellow Republicans to withhold both monetary and material support from the committee and redirect such resources directly to worthy Republican candidates. Accordingly, I am resigning both my chairmanship and my seat on the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, effective immediately. Signed, Tony Lovasco, State Rep, District 64. So quite interesting. Now, someone else posted, as a former member of the committee, I stand with Tony Lovasco. The committee has long been inept in all the ways that matter, like being a ground team for the GOP in our area or standing for the principles of the party. Now it is completely off the rails in addition to being inept. I'll never forget the time the committee chair preceding Tony declared the GOP must accept Obamacare because we lost that argument, or seeing the committee effectively endorse in primaries using a sleight of hand to make it appear as if some candidates agreed to the party platform and others did not. The St. Charles County Republican Central Committee is not an organization that deserves attention or support. So again, very, very interesting, right? And again, we've spoken at length, all of us have, I know, about the parties in general, right? They kind of suck. And the leadership at the national level and that crap just rolls downhill. And you don't find many outfits that kind of take the initiative to be different. And because the original conservative platform is actually pretty good because they want to, they are to be fiscally conservative. They are to be a moral system. They are to be just real conservatives, where they're like, okay, we want to limit the size and scope of government, and we want you to keep more of your money, and we don't want to take your things, and all this other stuff. A little libertarianism thrown in there, and a lot of them are going away from that, and it's not hard to see that that's what's happening here. Okay, we see it in leadership in the state of Missouri. We see it in our representatives and some of our senators. I mean, some of our reps and some of our senators are supposedly conservative, and these committees will stand by these people, and you can look at their voting record and tell that they're not conservative. They vote with Democrats. And, you can't find... I don't think you can find a political party where there's not some infighting, okay? Where people are not agreeing with things and they're upset with each other and there's name calling and mudslinging. Oh, you're not, it's the same thing. You're not a real Republican. You're not a real liberal. Oh, you're not a real libertarian because you don't agree with the way I think. Right? So here's my thing, and I'm going to state this just across the board. Stop supporting the party. Stop giving money to the parties, right? I mean, now, the Mises Caucus, maybe. Because you can tell if they're a Mises Caucus person, they mean business. I mean, you can tell. But even then, not the Libertarian Party in itself. Maybe the Mises Caucus I can see donating money to. If you like a representative, if they're a Republican or maybe a Democrat that you find it's like, wow, are you sure this guy's a Democrat? Or a Libertarian or a Constitutional Party member, donate to that candidate directly. Do not give your money to the party. Because the Libertarian Party of Missouri, I'm not giving them another dime. I did that one time, and I'm not doing it again until they prove to me, which it doesn't seem they want to do, is be serious about promoting their candidates, really helping them out, and searching for serious candidates, not just literally, I can't remember his name, that was running for Congress. And the party just come to him and said, hey, would you run for office? And, he wasn't like top dog and like super popular guy. I don't think he was. They just literally go up to people and ask them to run. And it's like, have you vetted this person? Do you know their principles? And then after they're like, okay, I'll run. Yeah, they might get a little social media presence, but that's it. It's a freaking joke. And I've got people that I know, Catherine and Robert and others that I know are libertarians, but they don't have good things to say about the party in general. They like the principle. They love the platform. The non-aggression principle. They're all about those things. But the party itself has a lot of work to do. And so does the Republican Party. We've got to... If you're in a Republican committee, if you're on some kind of committee in the Republican Party and you support candidates like Mike Moon and people in office like Mike Moon and Tony Lovasco and Eigel and Seitz and some of these others, and then you got other people coming up that are not truly conservative, that they're wishy-washy, they play they just kind of go with the political winds, or they're kind of almost a Democrat in Republican clothing, then you need to make a stand and say, we're not supporting you as a candidate. We're going to support this guy. If they know the person that's running as a Republican or a conservative is not really conservative, they don't have to take their money. They can literally say, no, we know you're not what you say you are. You've proven that, so we're not taking your money. And they won't. They'll take their money because it's money and they just love it. I guess I don't know. They just love the money and they're like, whatever. Let's throw your hat. Throw your name in the, throw your hat in the ring. And let's see what happens. The parties, the libertarians have to get serious about changing. The Republicans have to get serious about changing. And they need to reread the party actual platform, not the one, not the agendas and all this other stuff. And this cult-like worship of Trump. Good God, can we please stop that? And, get back to the actual principles. And again, the Republicans need to do that to be an actual conservative, standing up for moral, virtuous things, supporting and defending the Constitution, taking that oath to office seriously, and stop splitting between Republicans and Democrats depending on, the political wins. And again, libertarians just have to get serious about actually wanting to win and not being the third party out there for people who don't feel like the other two parties, really support them or they can't get behind the other two. So we're just the third wheel here and you can just come hang out with us, but we're not really going to do anything either. A lot of things got to change, right? And I, for one, am glad that Lovasco said, you know what? I'm taking my money and I'm pulling out and I don't care. I'm done. Now, here's the thing. If a committee is calling out someone like, not Rowden, but Huff, if they call him out and say, dude, what are you doing? You're voting with Democrats, and they call him out, I don't really have a problem with that. But if the agenda is only that and not to correct the behaviors and not find a better candidate, and their literally only thing is just to beat people up all the time, yeah, that's pretty useless behavior. If you're not trying to find those candidates and support the candidates who want to do the right thing, and your answer is to just scream to the heavens, then yeah, you're pretty useless. And I don't give my money to committees. I don't give my money to parties. I donate directly to the candidates if I like them a lot, and that's it. Now, I cannot remember his name. When I did the Push for Liberty podcast, I had a candidate on, Jesse Rude, said, hey, here's a guy to interview. And he was up in Michigan. Now, he's a Ron Paul type Republican, right? So he's pretty much a libertarian, running in the Republican Party. But in his area, they had a takeover of that district. They got all the old blood out, got new blood in, and completely changed the fabric of that committee, right, of that district committee to more of a principled thing. And they got serious and they cleaned house. That's got to happen nationwide. It really, and same way at the Libertarian Party, they need a cleansing of. I mean, they did it at the national leadership. The Mises Caucus came in and just scorched earth policy, and then took it all over, and that's awesome. State levels need it too. I think New Hampshire's done it. I think there's been a couple other states that have done it too. Missouri needs a cleansing. They need, I guess you'd call it a colon blow for the Libertarian Party. They need a colon cleanse. Push the crap out, start over, and get serious. Get people who actually want to affect change. And these people, and it doesn't matter if they're conservatives or libertarian, if they're real conservatives or real libertarians, they have to understand that the focus needs to be off the god-awful dumpster fire in D.C., and they need to put their efforts forth at the local and state levels and leave D.C. alone. I mean, I understand why they're trying to do it, because if they can get some libertarians elected in D.C., it helps their cause nationwide. So I understand as a political type of motivation, if you can get some libertarians in office in D.C., that gets you notoriety nationwide. Okay? And then you can use that to build up the platform and the party and get people in local, county, state governments elected, which more and more of those have been happening, but I just don't see enough talk about it. And I don't see a real push to get this in front of people's faces, to say, look what we're doing as a party, look at the people that have been elected. Let's build on the momentum, right? Now, here's something else interesting. Now, I don't normally go into, I try to not go into national politics so much, but I've been hearing interesting things. Now, let me state beforehand that I'm not saying I trust the guy fully, and I don't know that I'd want him to be president. But RFK is causing a little bit of problems in the Democrat Party because there's been some polling where he is seen much more favorably than Joe Biden and many others, right? And I will agree with RFK on his foreign policy, health, freedom, and there's some other things. You know, the whole COVID thing he's great on. Foreign policy, I worry about the environmental side of him, but he's good on many things. And he understands what happened to his uncle, and his, family members have been killed because they didn't cooperate, okay? So he knows how these people run in the alphabet agencies. And I believe he is a danger to outfits like, I think, the CIA, he might be just like, I'm shredding you up and we're spitting you out. You're done. And so, but of course, Biden is not going to debate any of the other primary candidates. He's just going to hide in his basement like he did in 2020, and he's not going to say squat. But it is interesting to see what the kind of stuff that RFK is stirring up. And in fact, he got some hate from a state Democrat party because he's going to be speaking at PorcFest, the big libertarian festival in New Hampshire, which it's in like July or August or something. They're really mad at him. And he's like, I don't care because, I believe in freedom of speech and I'm going to go talk to these people because we see eye to eye on things. And so, why don't you go pee up a rope? And I love the fact that the libertarians offer to let him come speak, and I love the fact that he is speaking there. Okay, I think it's great. That shows that libertarians are willing to try to find common ground with some people and work together on things. Which in D.C., it's one side against. Well, they make it look like it's one side against the other, but in the meantime, they're just stealing from you and robbing you blind and screwing you over. But the RFK thing is fascinating, and what I hope happens is that that he just continues to stir the pot and get a bunch of Democrats just mean mugging and trash talking Biden. On the other hand, I hope that people in the Republican Party figure out what kind of guy Trump is and they start trashing him as well. Because I've heard one Republican that I trust a lot more, and that's, he's got a funky last name. Good Lord, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Is it something, Smami Lami or what? I can't think of it. He's pretty good on a lot of things. He's interesting. I want to say Swami Lami, but that's not right. I think it's something odd like that. It's not salami. I know that. That's lunch meat. But anyway, it's pretty interesting. Okay, what he's been saying, and he's gaining some traction too. But I would love to see this cultist mentality in the Democrat and Republican parties laid to waste. I would love RFK to come in there and just screw up the Democrat side. And I don't care who it is. Somebody, I don't really trust DeSantis that much, but I think he's much better than Trump. I would love to see DeSantis destroy Trump. And I think it would be a pretty interesting debate if you had RFK versus DeSantis. Again, I'm not really worried about the federal level, but it would be interesting to see both sides thrown into turmoil because they're two big boys who are leading the cult in both parties get thrown to the wayside because people are like, I think we can do better than this. And I would find that absolutely, absolutely fascinating. So with that being said, I'm going to play you a song that I just found today to end the show, okay? And this song goes all over the freaking place, all right? I absolutely love it, but it goes all over the place, okay? And it's a little heavy. There's very little screaming, which is odd for me. The guy's voice is really different. I ran into this today. I heard it on another video, and I was like, what is this song? And I listened to it. I'm like, this is so unique that I have to play this tonight. It's about 6 minutes and something seconds. So right before I start this off, let me remind you to please support MOLibertyRadio.us, who was the first network to carry this podcast and the previous one, Sam and Trish Britton. Awesome people. Please check them out. And Sunday nights, especially on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time, Off the Cuff Radio. Also, KEYK out of Lake of the Ozarks, keyradio.live. Check them out. Also, check out mofree.org, which is the Missouri Freedom Initiative's website. Go there to sign up for the email list. All good stuff. All right, with that being said, let's end the show with, this is called The Summoning by a band called Sleep Token. And I hope you enjoy it, because I find the song, again, well, I'm going to let this go. Yeah, I better start playing it now. But anyway, with that being said, folks, have a great week. There may be a short video coming up if I can get somebody on to talk about the Pomme De Terre River and the treated wastewater flowing, wanting to be pumped into by this said meat packaging plant. So if I do that, I'll try to announce it somehow, but you may see another video pop up soon. Anyway, with that, here's The Summoning by Sleep Token.
I've got
All right. Well, folks, thanks for joining in with me tonight. Appreciate it. And again, I this whole Pomme de Terre thing is a little crazy. As far as we don't know how I hate to be pessimistic, but we know how government treats these things, and it's not hard to sit there and go, well, yeah, I can see them just going along and saying, yeah, it's fine, dump it in there, and then seeing the health issues down the road, and then try to sweep it under the rug and pretend like, oh, we didn't know that was going to happen, because government does that a lot. They do it because of money, or they look at intent and not outcome. That's a constant thing in government as a whole. So we see that, we go, oh, yep, you did it again. Thanks, fellas, for screwing the pooch on this. So yeah, again, next week I'll have Senator Eigel on with me to discuss his exploratory run for governor and things of that nature. See how things are going with the senator, and hopefully things are going very well. And hopefully, just maybe, in November of next year, he is the next governor of the great state of Missouri. And maybe he can look at the people of the Capitol and go, I would like you to figure out a way to get rid of personal property tax. I'm asking you to do these things because we need somebody at the top to lead and say, hey, can we do things that are good for the people of Missouri and not for you freaks of nature here, except for a few that want to do the right thing? Can you all come together and do the right thing here? That'd be great. We'll see what happens. Yes, happy Father's Day to everyone out this weekend. I'll get to spend a little time with my kiddos. I'm sure my son will probably have to work that day. I know my daughter gets to spend a little time with me and a little time with her boyfriend's dad, and hey, that's cool. I understand. I don't expect people to take time out of their day to spend with me. It's great if they do, but if they don't, I completely understand. I don't get upset about it. That's just the way I am. I'm just on Sundays, kind of my lazy day. I just kind of hang around, do a little gaming, or do a little photography and editing and all that. And Maya, I'm sure you'll appreciate this if you're still watching, but I am going to be taking a foray quite soon into acrylic painting. So I saw a beginner's video on YouTube on painting a sunflower, which I want to do for my wife. And so I'm going to be taking a foray into painting, and let's see if I go down a rabbit hole on that one as well. It would be great. I doubt it would happen. It would be great at some point to paint things that I've taken a picture of, like sunflowers, maybe a landscape. I've got one photo in mind at my uncle's pond with the trees that as they're turning yellow and green to paint some of that stuff. We'll see what happens. But I am looking into taking the leap into painting now, not just photography, so God help me. More money to spend on some hobby, and not make any money off of it. If I enjoy it, who freaking cares, right? But anyway, to all of you out there who continue to support my show, again, thank you so much. I do appreciate all of you. And again, next week with Senator Eigel. And with that being said, we'll see y'all right Friday next here. Yeah, we'll see you all right here next Friday at 6:30 on the Missouri Liberty Report. Let's start a Missouri Liberty Revolution right here in our state, right? Of course we would start the Missouri Liberty Revolution right here in our state, because why would you start that in Tennessee, right? I got to pick my wording a little better. But anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hope you get to enjoy some time with your kiddos and everything else. We'll see you all